Hey, what's up, and welcome to this week's edition of Ask Shane Anything here on Sifted Games at sifted.net. This show happens because some of you awesome guys and girls are pledging at $7 or more per month at patreon.com/sifted. That's seriously why this show happens. We appreciate you guys very, very much. We appreciate all our patrons, and everybody gets to watch this show. Everybody gets to ask questions, but we do give preferential treatment to those who are pledging at that higher tier. I think you guys can understand that. We're coming up on the holidays here. There's only a few more of these left to go in 2024, but we still need questions. Go to sifted.net. In the header there's a link. You can go to our forums and ask me questions about anything that you want. We have a great selection of questions for this week's episode. Let's get to them. First up for this episode, we have a question from Derek D111. What gaming-related presents would you recommend people buy for gamers this holiday season? Well, Derek, I'm guessing you have your own holiday list, and maybe you've looked at it, or you're having troubles putting it together, or maybe you're just looking to buy stuff for someone else. And I think that's the key to buying not just gaming gifts, but just gifts in general, is know the person that you're buying for. Now, obviously, every year I need to buy at least one gift for a gamer, and that's Matt. And as somebody who has everything and has enough money to buy whatever he wants, he's very hard to buy for. But I can still kind of look at the stuff that he likes, maybe even stuff outside of gaming, and find things to buy for him. Now, sometimes I have bought him stuff, and he's like, whoop, I just bought it myself. There's not much you can do in situations like that, and Matt is kind of an anomaly. Most of the people that you're going to buy gifts for do not have everything that they want or need. So the first thing I am going to recommend for every gamer on your list is to get them a hard drive expansion. I've already got that for Matt. He loves it. Everybody loves it. Nobody realizes how annoying it is to constantly be deleting games to make space on their hard drive for a new one until they have an extra terabyte or two sitting there to play with. It is a game changer. It's been nice for me just since I built my new PC. Like in some cases, if my console hard drives are full, my huge hard drives on my PC are not. So I can easily download the game on PC. And I've actually found myself requesting PC code for some games from publishers instead of console code, which is a shift for me, for sure. So my number one gift recommendation for the gamers on your list, if you're willing to spend around $100-ish, is get them that expansion. Now, the other thing I would say is look at what games they like, and then Google that game, and then follow that up with merch. If somebody likes a franchise or a game, they're going to have every game. They're going to have all the games in that franchise. You're not going to be able to actually buy them video games that they're going to like. So try to find something more cultural around what they like. Find some plushies or some t-shirts or a jacket or some cool shoes. The cool thing about the industry is how literally you can buy almost anything for video games at this point. So I would do that. I'd search for their favorite franchises, try to find some merch that they like. You saw how I got Matt the Elden Ring flower pot. That's how I found it. I was like, Matt loves From Software. He loves Elden Ring. What's cool stuff that I can find around that? And that's how I found the flower pot. And then my final recommendation is buy them a subscription to Game Pass. And this falls on the cheaper end of it because you can get them like a 2-month subscription, even a 1-month subscription for like $20 or whatever. And because here's the thing, I feel like a lot of people are reluctant to try Game Pass. And maybe it's because they don't have an Xbox console and they haven't got the messaging yet that you don't really need an Xbox console to play Xbox games or to play Game Pass anymore. $20 for a month of Game Pass, that's a pretty awesome gift to get somebody. Just the $20 to let them play all the games on there for a month. And this month is a good month for that because there's Indiana Jones and Stalker 2 and Microsoft Flight Simulator, all these new kind of big budget games that just released for the service. $20 for a month of that, pretty freaking awesome. And then here's the thing, if they try it and they really like it, they may come back to you and be like, bro, you getting me a month of Game Pass changed my life. So there you go. I think I found 3 things at different price points, although obviously at the highest price point, if you're wealthy and money is no object and you have tons of disposable income, first you should donate at donate.sifted.net. But then after that, you should buy your loved one a console. I mean, what else? And would I buy a PS5 Pro or PS5? I'd buy a base PS5. I would not buy a Pro, particularly as a gift. Now, if you're buying a gift for yourself, maybe go with the Pro. Okay, next up, we have a question from someone who always asks awesome questions, and that, of course, is Kevin. You handed out turkey awards during Game Face for Thanksgiving, but is there anything in the games industry that you are thankful for? Kevin, I'm really glad that you asked this question, because you're right. Like, the turkey awards, like, Thanksgiving's supposed to be this, like, joyful thing where everyone gets a nice long break and everyone's in good spirits, and then here we come with our turkey awards where we say bad things about the industry. I hear you. I mean, it's just one of those things that we've done for literally, at least me, for like 15 years at this point. So you're right. We should give out other awards maybe and talk about what we're thankful for. I tend to do that on the show anyway. Like, obviously, I shared how thankful I am for all you guys, all our patrons. I'm thankful for Matt, all that kind of stuff. But you're right. Like, what am I thankful for in the gaming industry? Well, one, just that it still exists. I know that may be crazy for some of you to kind of wrap your heads around because it's always existed. But that wasn't the case for me. The industry started and then it died. And so I will always be thankful that it was revived and it's thriving still all these years later. And it's provided a vocation for me for my entire career. So I'm very, very thankful for just that the industry is still here and existing. Second, very thankful for the indie developers out there. We've been working with an indie game called The Lands of Hyberian. They've been sponsoring Game Face for the last couple months or so. It's been awesome and really rewarding to get people to start working with that game and working on that game. But above that, I just appreciate the indie developers because really, and it's going to get worse here in the very near future, they are the only ones pushing innovation. You are not going to see innovation in big budget games going forward. We're seeing even developers and publishers coming out now and saying it, that big budget games are not going to be risky anymore because they can't afford to be risky. So we really are going to lean on the indie developers to come up with new concepts and new ideas. And then, if those concepts and new ideas hit real big, then you might see a big budget developer steal them and put them in a big budget game. So I'm very thankful for the indie developers out there. In a lot of cases, are doing it for no money or just on the hope that maybe their game strikes big, which they never do, pretty much. So I'm very thankful for the indie developers out there who are pushing the envelope without really the prospect of a lot of reward. So that's a big deal. And then my last one, this might strike you guys a little weird. My last one is Jeff Keighley. I've worked in this industry long enough, around enough big money, meaning working at like a Fortune 500 company as a VP, and seeing the budgets that are thrown around and how people at those places think about those budgets and that kind of money. And what you get is the Spike Video Game Awards, which a lot of people hated. We hated them. As people who worked in the enthusiast press and had to work on the Spike Video Game Awards, it was very frustrating. Year after year to sit in meetings and tell them, this is the wrong thing to do. This is what you need to do. And then they'd say, okay, we're listening to you. And then show night would come and you'd be like, this is the same crap you did last year, despite all the meetings that we had about this. It's very hard when you're dealing with that kind of money to get a good show, a good product, something that represents our industry well. And say what you want about Jeff Keighley. His shows aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. That's just the truth of the matter. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. His shows aren't perfect, but they are much better than what you would be getting if some huge megacorp were running the Game Awards or started the Game Awards. In fact, would the Game Awards even exist if it weren't for Jeff? Now, granted, he, like I, came off of working on the Spike Video Game Awards, so maybe it was a natural transition for him to go and start doing his own awards, because he was kind of the linchpin of the Spike VGAs for many years. So maybe it was just natural for him to do that. But you can't assume that he's going to do that. You just can't. He could have just went away. Don't forget, his family is rich. His dad started IMAX. He doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. So, one, he has a great work ethic. Two, he truly does love the industry. Say what you want about him. I know Jeff, or at least I thought I knew Jeff. At least when I knew Jeff, he genuinely loved the industry. He genuinely loved games. And having somebody like him in the position that he's in is very, very important. I feel if it were not him running the Game Awards would be gone by now. Gamers would have shunned it. It would have been just sent into purgatory and it would have went away. So I am very thankful for Jeff Keighley, despite the fact that now that I no longer work with him, I might as well be dead. That's a personal thing between he and I. Looking at him from an industry perspective, without him, I don't know where we'd be as far as having big events and big award shows that make the industry look good. Okay, next up, we have a question from Raphael Michael. I enjoy listening when you mention tidbits from places in LA you're fond of, whether it's a good place to eat, a good bar, or other places. What's a piece of LA lore from the time you lived there that you haven't shared so far but are excited to do? Raphael Michael, your timing is impeccable. I don't know if you are asking this because you know that I have a family member coming here, and in fact, they're on the way here right now as I'm recording this, but Your timing is great. My mom is on the way here right now. And one thing about living in a destination city, well, a couple things. One is that people come to visit you all the time. I've been very lucky to have so many friends and family members come to visit me. However, my mom is just now visiting for the first time, which I admit is a little weird. But she's coming, and I'm excited about that. But here's the other thing. Everybody's different. So much like buying a gift for the holiday, you need to look at the person and say, what are they into? What do they like? What should we do together? So my friends from Philly, my DJ friends, when they come here, I check out the clubs. I figure out what DJs are playing, where we can go to hear good music, where we can go afterwards for the after party. If I have relatives coming here, then it's more of the traditional LA touristy stuff. Let's go to Hollywood. Let's go to the amusement parks. Let's do that kind of stuff. Let's go check out the Walk of Fame. Let's go see the Hollywood sign. And then you have like family members who you know very, very well and intimately, and you know very specific things that they're into. So now I'm getting to the answer to your question. So I've lived here it's coming up on 20 years here in about 3 or 4 months. I've been here a long time. I've had so many people come and visit. I've done so many things, but there's still some things that I haven't done. And one of the things I'm going to do with my mom when she comes here, and this may sound crazy, is we are going to go on an O.J. Simpson tour. Now, I have to put this in context for you. My mom, during the O.J. Simpson trial back in the 90s, was obsessed with the O.J. Simpson trial. She sat and watched it all day. She would record it on her VCR, so when she would get home from work, she could sit and watch the O.J. trial. If you called her house, back when houses used to have answering machines, her answering machine said, I can't get to the phone right now. I'm too busy watching the O.J. trial. My mom was obsessed with the O.J. murder trial. And so when she gets here, we are going to go on a very specific tour that takes you to all the spots of the whole O.J. Simpson fiasco. Is it morbid? Yes, it is. Like going to the scene of the murders is going to feel a little weird to me, but my mom will love it. And that's what you have to do. You have to make sure you're finding stuff to do that other people want to do. I had a niece come here, and she was really into this kind of stuff, and we went to like the Death Museum, which was crazy. It had like the Branch Davidian's bunks and stuff in there. And then we went to the house where the Helter Skelter murders happened. She just wanted to go. And so we drove there and we went to the house where Charles Manson sent all his crazy followers to kill all those people. And it is all like guarded now and there's big gates and everything, but you can still kind of see in there. So anyway, LA is so big and so diverse, and I haven't even been to like Compton really or East LA. It's just that big. So there's always going to be something for me to do, but generally when people come here, I try to figure out what they want to do. Okay, our last question for this episode comes from the Sandman. What stipulations would Sony and Nintendo give Microsoft in order for Game Pass to exist on their platforms? Would Sony or Nintendo want a bigger percentage, or for Microsoft to remove some games from the service? Sandman, that's a great question. You're really kind of thinking forward and trying to figure out how the nuts and bolts would all fit together if that were to happen. But here's the thing. They're going to be very happy with just making 30% of sales for doing basically nothing. Now, would they maybe push to get a higher percentage? They could. I think that might be stupid, because it does feel like the trend is going the other direction, where services are starting to lower their fees, particularly for special clients that they think are going to drive a lot of revenue. Sometimes they'll cut it from 30% down to 15 or down to 10. So it feels like the trend is it's going the other way. The fees are going down. So I think it might be a stretch to ask for 30% when this would happen. So I don't think they would have the guts to ask for a bigger cut than 30%. Now, software-wise, I think the bigger problem would be in reverse. So like, let's say PlayStation approached Nintendo and said, hey, we want to put PlayStation Now on Switch 2 or whatever. Nintendo might be a little reluctant to allow a game like Astrobot to be on its platform because it's like a celebration of everything PlayStation. I think Microsoft might be a little reluctant to do that as well. And then, so let's go to reverse. Let's try to think of a game that Microsoft publishes that is a celebration of everything Xbox. It hasn't really done that. Now, you might argue that Halo is that, but that's the forbidden fruit. Like, that's what PlayStation wants on its platform. That's what Nintendo wants on its platform. It wants to be able to say, you can play Halo on PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 6, or you can play Halo on Switch 2. That's a huge deal. And again, they'll make 30% off of that. So I honestly feel like this is a symbiotic relationship that will work well for both sides. And I don't think you're going to need to see one side kind of out-negotiate the other to try to get the upper hand in the deal. Generally, I think it's just going to be great for Microsoft because it's going to make 70% of that money. And great for PlayStation or Nintendo because it's going to now have this huge new revenue stream. Now, the question becomes, if Game Pass is on their platforms, does that keep people from buying the first-party software? I would say that might be a bigger issue for PlayStation because PlayStation's first-party software is more similar to Microsoft's and that a lot of times it's older and edgier. Nintendo's content is entirely different. It's made for all ages. I really don't think there would be any loss of sales for Nintendo software at all if Game Pass were on Nintendo. And if anything, Game Pass kind of fills the void for Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't have a lot of third parties lining up to make games for its platforms. Now all of a sudden, all these big third-party games are available on the Switch too without Nintendo having to lift a finger. So I just feel like this potential relationship would work so well for both sides that I think if they could just figure it out, I don't think there would be a lot of tough negotiations at all. I think it's just deciding that they want to do it in the first place. Okay, that's it for this week's edition of Ask Shane Anything. Thanks to everybody who pledges at $7 or more per month at patreon.com/sifted. That's why this show happens, so thank you. I'm very thankful for you guys. I can't even really put it into words. If you're watching this show on YouTube, and we have a little dedicated audience for this show on YouTube, this is a great time. If you want to help us out for the holidays, go to donate.sifted.net. And you can punch in whatever amount you want there, put in PayPal or any credit card. It works in over 100 countries. That's a great way to help us out if you don't want to get involved in a subscription process at Patreon and stuff like that. Again, go to donate.sifted.net. We'd appreciate it very much. It's a huge help around the holidays where we have bigger expenses just like everybody else. So thanks again. I'm thankful for you. Have yourselves a great week. I'll see you next Thursday.